So I know one of the things I talk about a lot on here is community and a feeling of belonging, a sense of belonging. And something I also bitch and moan about a lot is the fact that, at least me personally, I don't have one. I don't have an organic community, and it's been rough. It hasn't been physically rough as in survival mode in that sense. It's been mentally rough, and especially being aware, being awake, just simply observing and not jumping on bandwagons. You are not welcomed taking that stance. It is a stance. It's the middle way stance. And for the most part, it's not welcomed or it's not understood. And it's difficult. It is difficult to see things from what is essentially a very neutral position, calling out bullshit when you see bullshit. And, like, for instance, just mainstream media seems to be mostly canned bullshit, agenda-driven, special interest-driven, money-driven bullshit. And to me, that's just obvious. And it's something you also get just by watching these talking heads, these people. You can tell when you're. One of the reasons I'm drawn to the flat Earth community, even though I'm neutral on that as well, as far as my personal stance, is that it's refreshing to see genuine people, not agenda driven. That's what draws me to other people. That's the quality that draws me. If somebody is being pushed by a group, an agenda, anything, that I understand that if you're involved in a group, if you're involved in work and so on, you're going to be agenda driven to that extent. And I also understand that in my efforts at personal purity, I've shed virtually all of these things, and I'm aware that most people are directly involved in one way or another with a group or agenda, and that whatever level of purity I have for myself is not going to be matched by most of the people around me. I'm aware of that. That's also it makes for a aloneness, not loneliness, but an aloneness, because I've never been a big herd mentality person anyway. I've never been drawn into that, but at the same time, I'm still a human being, and I still have the very natural human needs of feeling a feeling of belonging, and I don't have it. I just don't. I have my very close, immediate nuclear family, and we are very accepting of one another, even though still within that nuclear family, which is 9 kids, 2 adults, every single of us individuals are very different, and it's the knowledge of that difference that enables us to stay close, because we see how things are, and we see that it's difficult out here. It's difficult. The whole thing is difficult. It's not conducive to natural being. It doesn't want living entities. It wants robots, and you feel that. It's obvious. But something I wanted to say, a point I wanted to make was that, before the internet came around, as far as psychological influences, basically the subconscious mind, which provides the backdrop to the actual style of conversation that comes out of our mouths when we're speaking with one another. If you consider that the whole of what you've ingested over your life, everything, media, personal interactions with people, interactions with entities, governments, corporations, families, thought forms, basically, all of these things that you've experienced in your life, single life, I'm not talking about reincarnations right now, in your single life that you're on, in your single timeline, all of these things together form like the palette for your conversation style. I consider conversation to be an art form, like everything else. And the more, I wouldn't say the more things you've ingested necessarily the better artist you're going to be, but it's gonna change what comes out of your mouth and how it comes out. And the advent of the internet changes everybody's style to a certain extent. And it also makes it more difficult to relate to one another, because if you just take the example of, say, before the internet, as far as media is concerned, sanctioned media, you have your local TV stations, and then you have radio, which you listen to maybe 10 stations altogether if you're combining TV and radio, and everybody watched/listened to the same thing for the most part. Just consider that to be so for the point I'm making. And so your palette, so to speak, is the same palette, is what I'm saying. It's the same palette, generally speaking. So, for instance, like, Henry David Thoreau's Walden, if everybody lived on, Walden Pond, and everybody was locally restricted to that area, in and around the pond, maybe the outlying areas, maybe within 10 miles, okay, their palette is going to be exactly the same for the most part. Now, human beings are so immensely, the subtle capabilities are just infinite, really. So each human is going to carry their unique characteristics regardless of the palette that they're drawing from, which is, the pond. But the community aspect is there, and it's there naturally, and there's not haggling and quibbling over theoretical issues such as we have today, because everybody's localized and the palette is roughly the same. Now, what we have nowadays with the internet is we have, the only thing that's the same is the fact that you're typing in a website. The form of typing in the website is the same for the most part, www. whatever, or we're using Google search. But there are millions of websites, millions and millions and millions, probably more than that. There's probably billions of them. I don't know. I have no idea how many websites there are, but if you consider that to be the modern day human's palette, that their conversation is drawing from, that subconscious palette, P-A-L-A-T-E, I think is the word. Not palette like a truck palette, like a painter's palette of colors. Everyone's is so different that it reduces the commonality to your basic pleasantries. Be polite to one another, and do no harm. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Golden rule, of course, applies everywhere. But the commonality for us internet era generation of people isn't there. It's lacking. Okay, so there has to be a concerted effort on each individual's part to make a connection whatsoever, and there has to be a lot of sort of leeway given from one individual to the other because of the vast difference of your internet palette, so to speak. Because for those of us who have lost trust in the official version of things, and it just seems just like nonsense to us, we go to the internet to basically find like-minded individuals, and we go down numerous rabbit holes, and then we come together in whatever form that we can and try to discuss issues. And it's not easy. It's difficult. It's difficult to sort of come together naturally. You have to kind of make one another. You have to give links. Here's this link. Go watch it, and then come back and we'll have a discussion on it. And that's possible, and maybe that's the only way. But it's just, it's interesting to me how much the internet has changed everybody, and the way we interact with one another, and it's a blessing and a curse, like everything is. Everything new is always a blessing and a curse, and you have to find, of course, your own middle path within that, or become an addict in some way, a junkie, an outlier, or all of us, anyone listening to me is an outlier in many respects, just by virtue of however you found my channel. And that's partially what binds us, is the fact that the herd mentality is a bitter taste in our mouths, and we can't accept it, so we have to find something that's opposite of that, or off to the left or something. And you're probably drawn here because I'm just honest and I say what I think, and I'm not motivated by anything really. I just come on here and say stuff. That's why I like the people I subscribe to, and that's probably why you like my channel, because we're just real humans. We're capable of jumping on bandwagons, we're capable of understanding them, we're capable of enjoying the herd mentality, watching a sporting event, going to a wedding, whatever, but we're not really with it. At least I'm not. I didn't buy in fully. I barely bought in at all. I just, I can participate, but that's not what gets me going, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, those are my thoughts for the day. A little bit of change of pace in my video style. I know my style jumps all over the place. That's me. My mind jumps all over the place, and that's why I talk about the present moment, because that is literally the grounding point for me. Is the present moment is the one thing that stays steady. Literally everything else changes, and of course that's what every sage has ever said, is that the present moment is what is real, and everything else is illusory. There are such as ACIM, A Course in Miracles. David Hoffmeister, I think was his name. He made an interesting point that I had never really heard verbalized in that manner. And what he said, he's talking, ACIM is Jesus Christ coming back in sort of a different form than biblically given. It's almost a modern day Christ consciousness spirit that was channeled by, maybe you don't like the word channeled, but that was given through some psychologists. I think who were having troubles understanding why everything was failing. And what David said, he's still alive, I'm pretty sure, but he's been on this sort of mission that he gave his life to this Christ consciousness, and it sent him all over the place. It's very interesting. But what he's saying is this present moment, that when we refer to the present moment in this sense, in this reality, he's saying even that is false. Somehow it's a false construct, present moment. And he said something along the lines of, the true present moment is like a pillar of fire, or it's like I can't even explain what he was trying to say it was, but he was saying essentially that our present moment, our linear space-time constructed present moment, is another illusion in the illusion of this reality. And it's just interesting. But still, while I'm here, the linear space-time focused present moment is what keeps me grounded, and it's what remains the same. And I'm assuming it's going to be that way until my reality shifts and I'm no longer, in human physical form, however that takes place. It's a matter of trust and surrender and faith to just existence itself, that it's going to take care of you regardless of the sort of hurdles that it throws at you. If you consider life to be infinite, you have to account for all possibilities, including the things that are paradoxical in nature and that don't make any sense to you and seem cruel and seem unnecessary. All of it. It's a matter of trust and surrender on some levels. But you're also free to throw a tantrum. You're free to, say, fuck you, God, like, what the fuck is going on? How come you're not doing anything? Or, cuss out the devil. Whatever you need to do, you're free to do it. And you're free to fear. You're free to be trembling. You're free to be the quaking mess, as Alan Watts would put it. You're really free. That's the basis of existence, and I feel it at the core of my being. I feel the freedom even within the constricted nature of this quote-unquote false reality matrix constructed space-time arena that I'm apparently in right now. Even within that, I feel the freedom. I feel the inherent freedom, and it is what it is. We're here, and we got to do something with it. So yeah, that's it for now. 18 minutes, that was a long one. I'm on my way to LA to hang out with my brother for a while, do some driving, and my birthday's coming up. I'm going to be an old 32-year-old man pretty soon, even though I'm ageless. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope everyone is having a good one. And yeah, give me some comments. If you feel so inclined. I always appreciate the love. Alright guys, thank you. Take care.